Hey everyone, me again. If you're new around here, my name's Alice and I make videos all about affordable beauty and fashion. So today, as I'm sure you can see in the title, I'm going to be testing out the latest foundation release from Revolution, which is their new CC cream. So I'm really looking forward to giving this a go. Quite a few people have messaged me asking me if I was going to try it and what I thought of it, so I thought I'd take one for the team and give it a go. So I picked up two shades to try out today. There's my usual shade, which is F1, but I also got the shade Up, which is F2.5, just because at this time of year, when I do get a bit more skin redness, I do tend to prefer a slightly darker foundation. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to trying this out. I usually get along with Revolution base products, so hopefully I'll get along with this one too. I'm just going to check it on my face, let you know my first impressions, and I'll do a small wear test as well. I can't do like the entire day because it's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have no schedule anymore given the current state of the world. I have no regular sleep pattern, so this is the start of the day for me. Also, I'm testing out a new primer as well because there was a 3 for 2, so I got this product for free. I was thinking of trying this anyway because it kind of caught my attention. This is their Glass Liquid Skin Primer. This was £8 and you only get 17ml of product in here, even though it looks like a bigger bottle. So it's maybe not the best in terms of value for money, but we'll see how the products go on top of it. My regular viewers will know that I really enjoy their baking oil as well as their Gold Elixir rosehip seed oil as well. So I was quite curious about this one. There's definitely a scent to it. Right off the bat, it feels a lot thinner as well. Yeah, this feels very, very lightweight on the skin. So whereas the baking oil feels quite thick, quite heavy, which is really nice for me because I have dry skin. If I haven't already mentioned that, I have dry skin, there's a couple of fine lines and skin texture creeping in as well, and I'm also quite prone to skin redness in case you hadn't already picked up on that. But yeah, I do enjoy their baking oil just because it is quite thick and quite heavy, and that feels really hydrating when you have dry skin. This one doesn't feel quite as hydrating as that, but it's still very pleasant. It smells nice as well, so I might enjoy this a little bit more in the warmer months. It looks quite shimmery in the bottle, but I'm not seeing a massive amount of shimmer on my face, which is nice. I'd rather just have something that looks a bit more dewy and glowy than outright shimmery. It does look like it's giving me a nice shine though. So like I said, I actually picked up 2 shades of the foundation. So I'm just going to take a swatch of F2.5. Hopefully you can see it's a bit darker than my neck, but because it's got good warm undertones, it's really helping to counteract my skin redness. And then here's F1. But yeah, hopefully you can see that. So I think I could probably get away with either of these shades, but I think today, because I do have a bit more skin redness, I'm going to start out with F2.5. And if it's looking a bit dark and a bit orange, then I could go in with a bit more of F1 over the top and kind of fuse it all together. So I'm just going to go in with F2.5 and see how we get on. And I'm going to start out with a brush on this side and then a sponge on the other. Straight away, I don't know if a brush is necessarily the best choice for this foundation. It's one of those quite thick foundations, a bit like a tinted moisturizer. So it does feel a bit strange using a brush, but it's working. I'm using up quite a bit of product. It is getting absorbed in the brush, but the coverage is very impressive. It's a lot better than other CC and BB creams I've tried. I will blend this all down my neck when I'm done, by the way. So I would call this a medium coverage. You can still see a bit of my redness peeking through, which is quite normal for most foundations. You can also see my freckles. There's bits where I've applied less product, like the center of my forehead, that just look a bit more natural, a bit more skin-like. It's not too matte, it's not too dewy, it's just a nice natural finish. It doesn't feel like I've got anything on my skin. It feels like I've applied a BB cream, but it's just got a bit more coverage than other BB creams I've tried. So it does look a tiny bit streaky with the brush, but that's kind of to be expected because it's such a thick texture. So I'm just going to try a sponge on this side and see how we get on. It's definitely not as streaky with the sponge. I don't feel like I'm getting quite as much coverage, but the finish is a lot better. So far I'm actually quite happy with how it's looking. I think for the first layer the coverage is pretty decent, but I do just want to cover my redness a bit more, especially on this side of my face where I used a sponge. So I'm going to go over everything with the sponge just to make sure there aren't any streaks or anything like that, and then build it up a bit where I need to. So I think I've built it up as much as I can. There were definitely some areas where I was able to get a little bit more coverage out of it, but there are still areas of redness showing. For me, that's quite normal. I really struggle to completely cover the redness just at the bottom of my face towards my jaw. Even with a full coverage foundation, it's really difficult to do that with just foundation. I normally have to use a fair bit of like concealer and a powder foundation as well. So this is pretty normal for me. The coverage is still really good. It's definitely a lot better than like other BB creams and CC creams I've tried. It looks very flattering on me. It's a really creamy texture and felt really nice on the skin. I did have to use quite a bit of product. I found that with the sponge and the brush, the product kept getting absorbed. It is the sort of thing where you could probably apply it with your fingers just because it's that kind of creamy, lovely texture. But I personally don't really apply foundations with my fingers a lot of the time. But anyway, things are looking okay so far. There is a little bit of texture towards the center of my face. That's on both sides with the brush and the sponge. So I don't really know what's going on there. It might just be my skin, to be honest. But I do really like that there's a nice radiant finish. There's a little bit of a dew going on my cheekbones, which looks very flattering. This feels like a formula that I'm going to really get on with because I've got dry skin. Before I jump off and finish my makeup, I did just want to rave about the packaging as well. This is my favourite packaging of any Revolution foundation that they've ever done. It's so simple, but it still looks really luxurious and a bit more high-end. For me, I like this because it's practical. I really like travel-friendly foundations. I know we can't travel at the moment, but it's something I like to keep in mind for the future. So it's got the convenience of the pump applicator, but it's still really practical because it's in a tube. And it also looks really pretty as well with the gold finish. But yeah, so far so good. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the primer yet. I think I'm going to have to try it with a couple of other foundations, but I think I'll enjoy this in the summer when I don't want to use a really heavy primer. Anyway, I'm going to jump off, finish the rest of my makeup, and then I'll get back to you. Alright then, as you can see, I have finished the rest of my makeup. I think I finished everything at about 2:30 because I am the slowest person in the universe apparently. Anyway, this is how we're looking at the moment. Whenever I do these reviews, by the way, I always finish my makeup in natural light just so I can really see how everything looks and just check that I haven't missed any texture or oxidization or anything like that. And I think it looked quite nice in natural lighting. I think in the future I'm probably going to mix the shades F1 and 2.5 just because I'm looking a smidge golden. I think I've got away with it for today. Once I've put my concealer and my powder foundation on top, things kind of blended in a bit more, but yeah, in the future I'll probably mix the two shades. I couldn't quite get as much coverage as I would normally like. Even when I laid on concealer and a bit of powder foundation, I used the same powder foundation that I normally go for. That's the Revolution powder foundation in the shade F2. I'll link it below. But even with that, I do still think there's a bit of redness showing just towards my jaw. In fairness, my skin sucks. You know, makeup can only do so much. My skin isn't great to begin with. I think this is a nice kind of everyday option, but it's not going to be completely flawless. I did really like how creamy and moisturizing it looked on my skin, but once I set it down with powder, I noticed that a lot of that creamy radiant finish just seemed to matte down a bit. I'm not looking completely matte, but it definitely sets down when you put powder on top of it. I think if you did want to make it look a little bit more dewy though, you could just not set it. Personally, I like to set with powder every single time I do my makeup. Even though I have dry skin, I like to use a setting powder and a setting spray. I just find that it helps the makeup settle into the skin a bit more, not move around during the day. So far, I'm thinking this foundation would be really nice for people with normal to dry skin who want something that's a little bit creamy and forgiving on the skin, but not so glowy that they look like they're sweating. I think if you need a lot more coverage, then you might prefer the Conceal and Hydrate or the Conceal and Define foundation. I have reviews on both of those, but I think this might be a really nice everyday or travel-friendly option. So I'm still really glad that I picked it up and gave it a try. So like I said, I'm not going to be doing a massive wear test because my schedule is just so bizarre at the moment, but I do have a couple of other things to do this afternoon. I've got another video to film and I'd quite like to finish editing another video as well. So I'm going to come back this evening before I wash my face and just show you how it's held up and give you my final thoughts. Hey, so it's been about 6 hours. I appreciate that's not the longest wear test in the universe, but I am exhausted. So the foundation's looking okay. Usually with BB creams and CC creams, especially ones that are quite moisturising, they do tend to break down a bit quicker on me. Whereas this one isn't looking too different to how it looked when I first put it on earlier today. I'm definitely seeing it break down a bit around my nose, which is quite normal for me. It's definitely worn away around my mouth as well. That could be because I've had dinner. There's a bit of creasing underneath my eyes, and there is a bit of texture on my forehead too. I feel like on the side where I applied it with the brush, there is a bit more texture than the side where I applied it with the sponge. So I think in the future, I'm probably not going to use a brush with this one. So far I do quite like this. I don't think I'm going to wear this for things like filming videos because it's not completely flawless. This is definitely more of an everyday foundation. I'm going to keep testing this out and playing with it a bit more, and I will update you again when I've tried it with some other primers. I will update you in another video. I don't know which one yet, but I'll let you know. And yeah, those are all my thoughts on the Revolution CC cream. I really hope you found this video helpful if you are thinking of picking it up. If you've got any questions, if there's anything I've missed out, just let me know in the comment section below and I'll get back to you. I do have reviews on all the other Revolution foundations as well, I think. And I've got a million other foundation reviews as well, so I'll link all of that good stuff in the description box below. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you're new around here, if you've made it this far into the video, you might as well subscribe. I'm trying to keep uploading business as usual over here. If I do miss a video though, it's just because the world doesn't make any sense anymore. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!